welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along today. It's time for your garden questions and our garden answers. If you've got a question, send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call toll free coast to coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Let's see what we can get through to the top of the hour, Holly.
All right, so the first question is when do I know when it's time to harvest my garlic scapes?
Your garlic scapes are going to be a additional growth coming out of the center portion of the plant. This is hard neck only. Soft neck does not have garlic scapes. That's the benefit of growing hard neck in some people's opinion. As that extra growth comes out of the top of the garlic, it's going to go up and curl around. Now, at any point, you could really harvest it, but what you want to wait for is the curl to occur, and then you would remove it with a scissors or snips at the conjunction of where it comes out of the plant. The benefit of doing this is you're not allowing the plant to use additional energy in order to continue to grow that sprout, which would turn into, or that scape, which would turn into a seed pod. It's going to allow more energy to go into the bulb. Now, the scapes are edible, and you can use them. It's a very small window of time that they are used for stir fries and garlic pesto, or people will freeze them for several other different dishes. And you want to do this. This is typically about 3 to 4 weeks prior to your time of harvest for the garlic, the hard neck. But when that curly Q top occurs, then you want to harvest it. And then the indication of when to harvest your garlic is when the lower 2 sets of leaves have died back and turned yellow. You don't have to wait for the whole thing to die off. And we'll talk more about that next week on the program.
Okay, so the next question is, when is the best time to harvest eggplant?
Eggplant can be harvested really any time you want. It's size. There is what you would normally see in the grocery store, palm size eggplant. And there's, the traditional eggplant that we are most familiar with is the Black Beauty purple eggplant. Now, there are Turkish eggplants, there are white eggplants, there are long, thin, sausage looking like eggplants. But
I think those are called Chinese eggplant, something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a few different varieties of eggplant. I think most people are probably referring to like the Black Beauty.
Right. And you can harvest it really any time, but there's a certain window, and image is more applicable for this particular answer. But you want to get it to about where the store size you would see at the grocery store. You can let it grow bigger, but the bigger is not always better because it will develop a woody texture. Some people, Holly and I are one of those, who like to cut them in half-inch pieces and fry them in butter in a cast iron skillet. Other people will turn them into, eggplant parmesan.
Yeah, so that's a different dish. Some people just roast them.
And
we're gonna roast some this year.
And there's people like Scott from Kentucky Ballistics that hates eggplant. So if you're familiar with that YouTube channel.
All right, so here's the next question. Yeah. Maybe you ask it.
All righty. Let's see here. With the intense heat, should I be watering more than twice a day? I have the irrigation system running at 30-minute increments at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m.
I would say that's fine. I can't imagine why you'd want to water more.
Well, it depends on a couple of factors. This one here is kind of, okay, here, sit down, let's write this down. If you don't have mulch, if the soil is normally porous and doesn't hold water very well, you have more of a sandy base, you would want to water more frequently. You definitely want to put mulch. If you have weed barrier, that is kind of a mulch. We've got weed barrier. We've not got the material mulch on top of that weed barrier yet. That seed-free, chemical seed-free, grass clipping, straw, shredded paper, leaves if you have it, any type of material, preferably natural, that can be put on top to repel the heat. So in these really hot days, it's a variation. If you got really soil that drains very quickly, very sandy soil, water, have it set up for another 30 minutes at noon. Our soil is compost in our raised beds, and I have it set at 30-minute increments at 8, noon, and 5 under weed barrier with dripworks.com. And we are still finessing that a little bit with this weed barrier thing. That's a whole new, the weed cloth, it's a whole new world for us. But the weeds aren't there. So makes me feel a little bit better, even though we're still working on getting that all figured out. I have some small peppers forming on my pepper plants, and I feel that it's too soon in zone 6 to have that happening. Where I live, should I cut them off or leave them on?
Well, you can cut them off. This actually question came from my boss, and
not me.
Not my day job boss. So I assured him he could cut them off. It'll help the plant bush out a bit. It'll help the pepper plant kind of grow more and focus on the growth, because you want those pepper plants to get a little bushy first before they start producing the peppers. It's also still pretty early in the season.
What occurs there in some cases is the pepper was in the container too long and began to experience a stress level of, hey, I may not survive where I'm at. I need to start putting flowers on to get a fruit produced in order to get seeds, in order to carry on the traits of me, the plant. It doesn't care about you. It's naturally designed to carry on the traits. And we'll see that in many vegetables in the instance of it's too dry. They're stressed. They begin to flower. Certain greens will do that as the temperature gets hotter and the days get longer. All these plants that we have are all in a reproductive state to carry on the traits. They are not growing. Mr. and Mrs. Jones is growing me for zucchini, so I need. No, that's not the mindset of a plant. So, remove those. If you have some flowers on your plants, go ahead and remove those as well. We have some. I've got to remove them on our pepper plants, which are only about 7 inches tall, not very bushed out, and they were just transplanted about 3 weeks ago. So I understand that situation, and that is a good thing to do on peppers. Now, back to our segment 1, where does it really work? Many years ago, and it may be still a process that some people practice on their strawberry plants, they'll plant their starts, their strawberry roots this year, and they'll start to grow flowers. And the old saying was, that first year, pull all the flowers off the strawberry plant. Don't let them put berries on, to let the roots get established and get more foliage on the plant. Don't do that. You can allow that strawberry plant to produce berries that first year, and it's not going to long-term damage the plant at all. It's doing what it's designed to do, and by removing the flowers, you're actually hurting yourself because you're missing out on that first year of berries. Well, with that being said, we are out of time, and we appreciate yours. It's time to this portion of the program where we discuss what we learned today.
I learned a lot about the herbs, the herbalists, the CBD, all of that.
From our guest, Jane Barlow Christensen, about how our bodies have this internal processing of the system.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. What did you learn?
Well, Jane informed us that she comes from a family of 14. 3 that she identified was adopted, and her dad was one of these people that we hear a lot about, that there was never an answer that he did not know the actual, or not a question that he didn't know the actual answer to.
Right. And that's pretty amazing.
And there's people in the world that will give you an answer to whatever question you have, regardless if it's right or wrong.
So when she was talking about her dad, did that make you think about your grandpa?
Well, there's very few people, I'm not going to mention, there's very few people in the world in which you can ask a question to and you can trust that the answer they give you is correct.
Yeah.
Well, what we learned today is brought to you by Honey Bee Healthy.
Whether you're a gardener, a bee hobbyist, or a professional beekeeper, Honey Bee Healthy Inc. has the products to help you maintain a healthy hive and thriving garden. For more information on how to use Honey Bee Healthy in your garden, visit honeybeehealthy.com.